I am very pleased to be here this afternoon. How are you all doing? I'm also pleased to speak about one of the, important issues that is for me. And I want to start by thanking Professor O'Donnell and Ms. Cohen for inviting me and having me come up here to speak. It's interesting as I get used to this new role that I have, which I have to tell you has not affected my 16-year-old at all. It has not made her want to catch the bus in the morning. It has definitely not made her want to lessen her activities after school or to question my wisdom when I tell her to do something. So what it means is I am still as humble as I was before I had this office. But diversity in the county. Let me just back up a bit and just talk about my childhood. As Ms. Cohen said, that I grew up in the military. And the basis of my philosophy came from that military experience. I never went to a civilian school, as we call it, until I actually got to high school. So I went to school on post. And when you go to school on military bases, even the one where I spent the bulk of my time, which was in North Carolina, Fort Bragg, it's a very diverse population. As my dad used to say, we have one color and it's green because we were Army. But it also means that as growing up, you get used to the fact that the richness of any society, it's its diversity, that everything comes in and shapes it. I had the privilege of our family following my dad over to Okinawa, Japan, which I absolutely loved and almost ran away so I could stay on the island. The weather was perfect. When we moved there, we lived, when we first got there, we lived where the East China Sea was my backyard. Can you imagine that as a 15-year-old? You come home and you can like run down to the East China Sea. We actually lived off post and when we first got there. So we lived in a village, an Okinawan village, and we absolutely enjoyed it. My wife, whose father was also military, was born in Germany, started school in France, in a French school. And so her understanding of diversity and how important it is shaped her life as well as that shaping my life. And so we both went to Howard University for our undergraduate years, which then again was, at least to me, coming to Howard, you think, okay, historically black institution. Should be pretty simple, right? No. The Caribbean, Africa, India, Asia, cricket, we were talking about cricket. In the middle of the yard, you got, a typical Friday. You could have people playing cricket. You could have the fraternities over here stepping. And, you would have the people from California who, if you're not from California, don't take offense, who are in another world. But I say all that to say, when my wife and I got married, and we decided it was time for us to raise our family, the reason we chose Cheverly to move to in Prince George's County was from two important factors it had. We wanted our children to grow up in a diverse community like we grew up in, that was racially and financially diverse. Because we wanted them to understand the importance and richness, as I said earlier, of what that goes into society and how it makes us a great society. And now you fast forward now as county executive. The beauty of Prince George's County, as I tell people, is not that we're the wealthiest African American community in the world. We're the most educated African American community in the world. It is we are the most diverse community in the state of Maryland. It is that diversity, it is that comes together that is going to help propel Prince George's County to the forefront, not only in education, but in economic development, especially at this time when the world economy is collapsing around us, when the only place that can print money is Rome, and that's D.C., it's right next to us, when we have undeveloped metro sites, and when places like China are investing in Africa, India, and Korea, that you look at Prince George's County and you look at the diverse population, both business and educationally, we are at the forefront of being able to reach out and be the ambassadors for the United States into those communities, because we already have people from the various walks of life right here in our community, going to our schools, graduating from our colleges, starting their businesses right here. My Nigerian brother, my uncle's Nigerian, so he gets me all the time and says, you know, he has a business in Atlanta, but he does business back in Nigeria. So he's got the connection between Atlanta, Nigeria, and opportunity. So if you look at the population of Nigerians in the United States, the largest population outside of any place is right here in the Washington metropolitan area. And over the last few years, they actually live in Prince George's County. So if you're establishing a business network that understands how to do it in the United States and in Africa, we're it. If we talk about recruiting teachers, when we work for Community Teachers Institute, three places actually that were high on the list to recruit teachers: Nigeria, India, and the Philippines. Nigeria and India, because English is a dominant language. Strong in science and math. The Philippines, because we have a growing Latino population here, and recruiting and competing with New York, Texas, and California, who do it better and have done it earlier than we have, is very hard. So we go to the Philippines. So the population of Prince George's County and its diversity can play a critical role. It is the thing that I'm most proud of as county executive, because I think that is going to set us apart from everyone else. So I want to thank you for the work that you're doing. I want to let you know that this administration plans to be a part of that work. As my staff know, diversity is critically important to me, because I think it is the future of the county. Matter of fact, I know it's the future of the county. And I want to make sure that we are as welcoming as we can possibly be, that we are looking for new ways to make life here rich for you in the county. That when people think about where they want to settle, no matter where they come from in the world, that they see Prince George's County as that place. And so with that, that is why I'm here. That is why I'm pleased to be part of this. And thank you for the work that you're doing. And I'll take some questions. Thank you. I think it is important that we look in Prince George's County at how we have mixed use, you know, market rate and affordable housing. And then we have to get from the point, and I try to remind people, affordable housing is not low-income housing. There is a difference. And affordable housing is not a bad word. It is, as I said, the reason that my wife and I settled into Cheverly was because we wanted the diversity, racially and economically. And that means that mixture, so that our kids could see, growing up, could see both, could see people who are from all walks of life. And so I think as a county, what's going to stand us out is to understand that as we go forward, especially in this administration, because our target will be inside the Beltway. We're going to take our economic development funds and we're going to target those places which just happen to be around our metro system. So it's got to be the mixed use and things of that nature. So we take that into consideration. You've got the University of Maryland, a top-tier research institution. You have Bowie State University, which just got a ton of money over the last couple of years for technology and computers at that campus. Right here, Prince George's Community College, the things that we're doing here. And Howard University has a research agricultural site in Beltsville. So we really are a technology and incubator around that right here in Prince George's County already. But you know what? We operate in silos. Howard does its thing. The community college does its thing. Bowie State is doing its thing. And Maryland is doing its thing. Rather than playing off of all of those and saying we are the incubator. Like years ago, you remember in 1994 when I first came into office, we had right over in Lanham some of the incubators around technology. Lucent Technology, Uri System, which went on to sell it to Lucent Technology. I think the founder of Google or one of those, I have to ask my kids about that stuff. Right out of the University of Maryland. Right. But taking that, and that's what we want to do, is to highlight the things that we have in Prince George's County and to build upon that. To make that priority that you don't have to go up to 270 quarter. And here's the beauty of it right now, is because of the economy and because of gas, nobody wants to go up to the 270 quarter anymore anyway. They're coming back here. The question is, do they come to Prince George's County or do they go to the District of Columbia or Northern Virginia and go up in the air? Or do they see the symmetry that we have here with the metro, with the universities, with the county's commitment to say this is where you ought to locate it? You've got the BRAC realignment coming in, so you have Andrews Air Force Base, which is doing a lot of good work. We should be from Branch Avenue all the way to the Pentagon is the area that we should have defense technology out here and the things that go around it. And so we've got to push it as a county. But we got to get a couple of things right. Yes, the diversity in the county is great. And building upon that diversity means taking some of the philosophy, is not just recruiting teachers from Nigeria, India, the Philippines for their skills, but also for their discipline. You know what? Not everybody gets a chance to go to college. The one thing we learned when we went over to Okinawa, and I say this because we got to get our public school system right. The first thing my brothers and sister learned when we were in Okinawa and we lived off base is it ain't like the United States. Not everybody in that village was going to the #1 high school. It was one test to decide whether you went up or whether you went to another career path. So the options that we had as myself, and I admitted to wherever I go, I was not the best student. There's no way I would have been able to go to the #1 high school. You got a small island, you got a limited number of spaces, and you have one test. And so what we have to bring to our kids is the opportunities that you have here, the benefits, the blessing you have. A lot of folks don't. And so that discipline and those things we have to feed into our public education system, because once we get improvements there, then businesses start looking at Prince George's County differently. We can do something about public safety. We can make the changes around, police, fire, correction, and things of that nature. But public education is important, and so the diversity of our community helps us a lot. The Senate. So here we have an opportunity where these children, mostly new Americans or new immigrants or undocumented immigrants that are here, have come through our high schools and we want everyone to go to college or to continue. So we often think, well, if we allow these students who are coming out of our public schools, our high schools, to be able to pay the same tuition as everybody else coming out of our high school, that we're at a disadvantage as a county. It's not either or. We're at a disadvantage if they don't continue their education. They're here. The diversity that we took advantage of for them sitting next to our children is going to continue when they go on to get their college degree, associate degree. It's not either or. It's how do we enrich? When I say enrich, that doesn't mean dollars. That means in our philosophy, because that right there will determine how we actually make policy. How do we make sure that it's as rich as possible? So if there's an opportunity that we can bring someone in from the Philippines that adds to our community, at the same time we bring someone who's gone through our system, who's seen the good and the bad, and have added to it into our community, then we should. And I think there are ways to do that, because we need them all. We need them all. So that's at least the philosophy that this county executive has, and the approach that we will have. But I do remember distinctly sitting in my Caribbean history class and being, for the first time, distinctly aware of how American I was, because there was two of us who were actually American students. And so understanding, as students around me could talk in personal terms about the history of what has gone on in Jamaica or Barbados. For us, they could rattle it. And so I remember the other student and I were saying, well, yeah, because you live there. And he said, yes, but we understand American history better than you do. And it made me realize that, you know what, a lot of times when we go to these universities, as I was sitting there at Howard, it's great to say, yes, I'm for diversity. It's another thing to actually embrace it. The difference with the college here is you actually embrace it. It is not just words on a pamphlet. It is not just one time. It is because you're all going through the same things at the same time, the same challenges. You're forced almost to embrace that. And that benefits the other students who may not have a military background where they've actually traveled. They get to travel through your experience and your interaction. And you do it so much better than I see at major universities. And so for that, I think you're way ahead of the rest of us. And our job, and my job, is to help you continue that. Thank you very much.